Hi everyone, I'm Adam from How To. Let's start. In today's tutorial we will play with all the Photoshop tools. So let's start right now. Let's open Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop CC 2020. Create new project. I'll go with the width 1280 and the height will be 720. The background will be transparent. Let's start. We will start with the Move tool. The Move tool, its shortcut is V. Remember that. Drag a picture. Great. We will use the Marquee tool to select the objects just by pressing M as the shortcut or just by clicking over it. Select the object and we can go by the Marquee tool and just drag it. Great. The second one by pressing M for the Marquee tool and just select the object, and by pressing V for the Move tool and just drag it. The third one by pressing M Marquee tool and just select it, by pressing V for the Move tool, and we can do it with another way by holding Alt or Option for Mac and just drag it. The last one by pressing M for the Marquee tool and select the object, pressing V, holding Alt or Option and just drag it. Great. Just mixing them. Now the Move tool. We got here a checkbox called Auto Select. The Auto Select checkbox, it just let us the ability to move any clicked object we clicked over, and just we can move it freely. But if we uncheck it, we can only move the object or the layer that has been selected. Just the one that have been selected. Okay, but if we check the auto select, once we click over it, it will be selected. So we can just move it freely like that. Great. Now, the second part, layer and group. If we have checked our layer, we can just move a layer, just like that. But if we go with group, we can just move the layer because we didn't have any group. So to make a group, just by holding Ctrl or Command and select two layers, and from here just make a group, or by pressing Ctrl Z to undo, and by pressing Ctrl G or Command G to make a group. Great. Now let's move them again. Oh my god, we got them moved together because we got them in a group. Both of them are located in the same group. Great. Now if we go with the layer, we will just move the layers even they are in the same group. Great. Now from here we got a checkbox, another one called Show Transform Controls. We can just go to Transform Controls by holding Ctrl T or Command T to just transform any object. Or we can just check our Show Transform Control and any selected layer will be shown with its transform controller. Just by clicking on it, we will see the transform controller. So that's great. Now what about all those objects? Just by selecting our layers, we can select the layer just when the auto select is on, but if we didn't check it, we can't select any layers, just the selected ones. So let's check it and select all the layers together. We can now move them all. Now we can organize them by the alignment, the distribution. So let's start by the alignment. It's spaces, the alignment on the left edge. So just by pressing all are at the aligning at the left edge. By pressing Ctrl Z to undo, we can go to align at the right side, right edge. It will be depending on the last one on the right side. So he is here. We can just select him and just grab it at the right here and just do it again. And they will go here. Great. Now let's go with the middle. Align at the middle. How about aligning at the top? At the bottom, at the center. They are the aligned for vertical and those for the horizontal. Great. Now for the distribution horizontally and vertically. They are now distributed vertically and now they are distributed horizontally. To make it distributed horizontally and vertically at the same time, by pressing both, so they all now distributed in a horizontal and vertical way. Great. We will hide those for now. Great. Now let's make a new layer just by pressing on add in the layer, or we can undo it and pressing Ctrl Shift N or Command Shift N. Press enter, we got a new layer. Great. Now let's go with the Marquee Tools and its shortcut is M. Don't forget it. Great. The Marquee tool is a selection tool. Really easy selection tool. But in the regular way, it just make one selection. So if we need to add to our selection, we can use those tools. The additional selection tool, the subtraction selection tool, and the intersection selection tool. Let's start with the addition. We can just add any part to our selection. By using the subtraction, we can just subtract any unneeded areas or unneeded parts. Great. The intersection selection tool just selects the intersection part. The intersection part, that's all. Great. Now let's go with the regular one again. We got shortcuts for all of them. You must know everything about the shortcuts because it will lead you to a faster editing and faster usage of every tool. Great. So to add to our selection, just by pressing Shift and hold it, we can just add to our selection by holding Shift. Great. To subtract from our selection, by holding Alt or Option, just we can subtract from our selection even from the middle. To go with the intersection part, just by holding Alt or Option plus Shift and just select the intersection part. Great. In the Marquee Tools, we got the elliptical Marquee tool and the rectangular Marquee tool. Just rectangles, but if I need to make a square, just by holding Alt or Option plus Shift and just drag, it will make a regular square. Great. How about the elliptical? It will make just elliptical shape, but if I need to make a real circle, just by holding Alt or Option plus Shift and it will make a circle. Great. By pressing Ctrl D or Command D to undo the selection. Great. Let's go with the lasso tools, and its shortcut is L. Great. The lasso tool is a freehand tool. You can just select whatever you need. It's also got the tools that we have at the Marquee Tools, which are the addition, the subtraction, and the intersection parts. Great. Let's go with the polygonal lasso tool, and it just deal with sharp edges. Just by pressing Ctrl Enter or return, you can make the selection. By pressing Ctrl D or Command D, just remove it. And the magnetic lasso tool, it just follow your path by making points. Once you are in with it, just press Enter or return, it will make the selection. Great. Let's use them in selecting objects. Let's drag a picture. Now, the lasso tool will be really hard if we select that object because it is depending on your moving, and it is a free tool, so it will make really bad selection in my opinion. So we won't use it for that purpose. We can use it in another ones I'll show you. But the polygonal, because it is a hand, it will be really hard to select a hand using sharp edges, so it won't work for that example too. So let's go with the magnetic lasso tool, and in that example it will make a really great job because it will follow your path. If you just make any mistake, you can just recap it and handle it after making the selection. It's really easy and really fast. Okay, great. Just by pressing enter, we got our selection, but we got some bad parts here. We can just handle it by using any of our selection tools because we got our extra selections here. The addition and the subtraction and also the intersection. So we can use any one of them. Let's go with the lasso tool and go with the addition and just add that part to our selection. Great, and that part too. Great, and we can remove that part by using the polygonal tool, just by going like that. Great. We can go back to our lasso tool and just select that part and removing the last part by using just by pressing enter to close the circuit, and everything is selected perfectly now. Great job. By pressing Ctrl D or Command D to just undo the selection. Now we got another tools that are perfectly in selecting objects. The object selection tools, which is shortcut is W. The object selection tool is a new tool in Photoshop CC 2020. It is based on the AI to select objects, which is artificial intelligence. So just by making a regular selection, it will make really perfect, but it sometimes got some messy parts here, we can just handle it. We can go and select the quick selection tool and go here just by reducing the size by the bigger than or smaller than arrows. And because we don't need that parts, we can just go to the negative sign, so we don't need that parts to be selected. Just remove, and we will add the parts we need just by going with the addition one and just moving like that. It will add the parts we need. That's great. It's very easy. By pressing Ctrl D, Command D to remove our selection. And the object selection tool got two options or two modes, the rectangle mode and the lasso mode. And just by going around our shape, it will go and select it. So we can do it using a rectangle or by using a lasso type, and it will make a great job. But if there is any defaults, we can handle it using the quick selection tool. Great. Now let's press Ctrl D and make our selection tool bigger by just the bigger sign, greater than or smaller than, to make it bigger or smaller. And we can just go with the regular one or addition or subtraction. Also we can go to them by just holding shift for addition or alt for subtraction, and just it will make a great job. By holding alt for subtraction, we can just remove any extra parts that we don't need. We can just do it like that. We don't need that one. And by reducing the cursor and adding the parts we do need, it will make a great job. You can use it the way you like, just by holding alt and just remove the extra parts. To reduce it, we can go like that, or just by going here and reduce the size by holding alt to just remove the extra parts. That's great for now. By pressing Ctrl D, Command D and deselect it, we got another selecting, which is the magic wand tool. It will select the colors, but we already made it for the addition. To just add the parts or the segments we are choosing, it might take a lot, but it will make a great job selecting any object. But we didn't go with it almost because it will took some time. In our case here, it didn't take a lot, and it make a perfect selection. We can make it either in another way by just pressing Ctrl D or Command D, and because our background is a solid color, we can just select the background itself and inverse our selection. To go from selection and inverse our selection, or by pressing Ctrl Z to undo, just by pressing the shortcut Shift Ctrl I or Command Ctrl I to make the inverse of the selection. Great. Just by pressing Ctrl D or Command D to remove the selection. Let's go with another tool, the cropping tool. The cropping tool is a really effective tool. We can use it to crop any object. if we need that part, just the finger, just pressing enter or return to make the cropping. Very easy. We can use it even in extending our area. Just if we need to expand our image from here, and just do like that, or do like that, just do like that, and we have just expand our image. In our case it got just a solid color, so we can refill it, but in either cases we just can go within any background to handle that. Great. Just by pressing Ctrl Z or Command Z to undo. And now we will go with the perspective crop tool. Let's drag a picture. Perspective cropping tool. It will change the perspective of any image we need. So in our case here, this building is inclined. We need to make it facing us. So just by selecting the edges, so we can see here that the building is inclined and we need to make it facing us, just by pressing enter or return, and it will be completely inverted to face us or respectively change it. Great. Just by pressing Ctrl Z or Command Z to undo, and that's great for the perspective cropping tool. Now we got here the slicing tools. The slicing tools, it is used in designing and especially in web designing. If we or you need to make any parts or everything to be more organized in your page, so you can go in and use the slicing tools. And even you can move them, resize them, make everything very easy and very powerful. Great. Now we will go to our history and start our project. The same again. The cropping tools, its shortcut is C. Great. Now we got our frame tool. What is the frame tool? The frame tool is a really cool feature in Photoshop, especially in CC 2020. We can just make the frame just like that and grab any image and just put it inside it, and it will control the image. We can handle everything about the image through the frame. So just by pressing double click and open the properties, we got the frame properties here. If we need, we can just move the frame. By double click again, we can go for the image and resize it by just pressing Ctrl T to transform or Command T to transform. Make it bigger or smaller, whatever we need, just by pressing Ctrl enter or return, just to do it. Great. To go to our frames properties, we can just press double click and move it, or just make a stroke for it, just as we like, just like that. We can even, we will remove it for now. We can even make a frame through any object. Just from shapes, we can make that shape and just make it like that. Great. Just right click on its layer and go and convert to frame. Yes, it will be a frame. Let's go and drag our image again, and it will be inside it. Great. It's a really effective tool. We can move our image or just by double click and move our frame again. Great job, and really cool feature. So let's make a new layer by just pressing on plus sign here, or by pressing Ctrl Shift N or Command Shift N. Let's remove our frame, the second layer, and let's go to the next, which is the eyedropper tool, which got its shortcut I. Great. The eyedropper tool is very effective tool in Photoshop. It just sample any kind of colors just by pressing here. For our foreground color, we got our foreground color and background color. Just by clicking, it will sample the foreground color. If we need to change our background color, just by holding Alt or Option for Mac and just go with the background color, it will be changed right now. Great. Now, in Photoshop CC 2020, we got really cool features in the eyedropper tool, which is really fantastic. We can just minimize our page and go here just by holding the mouse key, the left key, and go outside Photoshop, and it will change the colors in our foreground. Just we can go like that, check the foreground just by clicking and go just like that. Everything we can change it through any part of our computer or any web page or either everything. Great. Now, even we can change our background by holding Alt or Option and just pressing and go outside. It will change our background too. Great. Now let's go with the brush healing tools, the spot healing brush tool, the healing brush tool, patch tool, content aware move tool, and the red eye tool. Let's start with the red eye tool. Drag a picture. Just to use the red eye tool, it is used to remove the red eye effect from the camera. Just by clicking, it will be removed, or just by making a selection around it. That's very easy and awesome job. Let's remove that and let's go now to the patch tool, or we can just go with the spot healing brush tool. Drag a picture. We will zoom in just by pressing Ctrl plus or Command plus. The spot healing brush tool, it just makes the pixels around surrounding our selection. Just make a great job. Great. Let's try the healing brush tool. It is just making samples. Just by holding Alt or Option and make a sample and just draws our sample. Great. Now let's go with the patch tool. The patch tool, make sure you just check for content aware and just make a selection and drag it where you want to change it. Will make a really great job. Or there is another option. You can go with normal and change it. Press on destination and just make it and drag it, and it will make a real copy of it. You can make really duplications of whatever the part you need to duplicate. Great. Now let's go to the content aware move tool. It is really cool tool. So let's just drag a picture make it like here to make it fit to the screen by just Control 0 or Command 0. Now we got several modes in Content Aware Move tool, the Extend mode and the Move mode. Let's start with the Extend mode. The Extend mode let us to make extend imports or copying objects. So let's just make a selection from here, just like that. Great, and extend our selection just like that, pressing enter or return, and we got our selection made. Really great. Now we can, with using the extend, we can make another objects or make copies of objects just like that. Great. We can just make it again. We can transform it, make it smaller, just press enter, Control D or Command D. Great job. Let's go to the other mode, which is move. We can just close that for now and drag another one. Now to fit the image to the screen by pressing Control 0 or Command 0. Now we will move the tree. Just very easy. We will select the part, just like that, and drag it. Just by pressing enter, it will make a great job. We got our tree moved completely. Great. Let's undo it by pressing Ctrl Z. Great. Now let's play with our tree by extending. Let's make a selection for it again. Let's just drag it and make it smaller. Just place it like here. That's great. Great job. Let's close it for now. That's great. Let's go with the brush tool. The brush tool is a really cool tool. Its shortcut is B. Now, like any brush, you can paint using it with the foreground color, and you can swap between them as you like. Let's undo it by pressing Ctrl Z or Command Z. Great. Now let's make a new layer by just adding a new layer from here, or pressing Ctrl Z Command Z, or by pressing Ctrl Shift N or Command Shift N to make a new layer. Great. Now let's fill it with a color which is let's make it white. You can just click here and choose white, and just by the packet and make it white, or we can just undo that and choose any color, and you can go to the basic of Photoshop. It will be white and black just by clicking here. You can swap between them as you like. Great. Let's fill it with white and swap to go with the black, and let's go with the brush again. Great. Just undo by pressing Ctrl Z. Now we got our opacity. You can reduce it, but each and every time you paint all over it, it will increase with 46%. As you can see, it seemed like it is not a natural way. It's really bad in its shape. not a natural way. No one when painting will get that result. So let's just undo them fast by pressing Ctrl Z or Command Z. Great, and let's make our opacity 100% and playing with the flow. Make it just 50%. The flow will lead you to a really perfect way. Let's make it less. Let's make it like 12%, and it will make your painting like you are painting in reality. So it will be better than the opacity. You can use the flow in each and every way to make your painting seem it's natural. So just by pressing Ctrl Z, Command Z, you can change your brush just from here and change its size and hardness, or even change its play brush, or just you can go by right click and you got your options. Great. Even you can change the size by the bigger than and smaller than in your keyboard. Great. Let's make it smaller, and let's go with some tricks in brush tool from mandala. Make it just like 6. Great, and choose the brush tool. You can draw awesome shapes just like that. Always go from the middle and go and make whatever shapes you want. You can go and make awesome tricks and shapes depending on your imagination, so feel free to play with it. Great. Now let's go with the stamp tool. The stamp tool is a really awesome tool. So first let's remove that layer by just deleting, and let's drag any image. Let's go with the tree for now. The stamp tool is awesome tool. Just let's fit it to the screen by pressing Ctrl 0 or Command 0. Stamp tool, we can just hold Alt to make a sample, and just make a sample and start drawing, but we will increase size by bigger than button. You can see the sample here. Let's start sampling. Just make great samples. You can make really great samples using the stamp tool. We can just undo it. You can even do it in another layer by creating a new layer, but make sure you check all layers and just make a sample again and go and start drawing. You can sample anything you want and duplicate it, do whatever you want with it. Great. Now, what about the history brush tool? The history brush tool is really awesome tool when you need to go backward in a particular area. So let's try it in that one. Let's first reduce the size by the down button, less than button. Great. Now we play here with the spot healing tools. We said before that the spot healing tool just mixing the pixels around it. If we made that and we just make it really bad, we made a mistake, but we just have some extra editing after it, and we don't need to lose them. So we will go to the history brush tool, and just retrieve the history in that part only. We will got it really perfect, released again. Great. Let's go with the next tool, the eraser tool. It's a really simple tool. We can just drag the hand for now. Let's remove them. Those layers, we don't need it. Let's go with the eraser. The regular eraser just erase things we don't need. Just we will undo. Now let's go with the magic eraser. It will remove any kind of color or item you just press on it. If we just press on the solid color, it will remove it. Solid color, great. Or if we press here, it will remove all the matching colors with it. Great. Let's undo. How about the background eraser? The background eraser will just remove through the X. If you just click here, it will remove the item in the X and everything that is related or similar to. So if we need to remove the background here, just undo it. We just put the X on the background and just press. It will remove the background without the part we do need, which is the hand for now. It will make a great job just by moving and clearing the parts surrounded. How about if we make a mistake here and we remove the finger? So we can go back to our history brush and just increase it by using the button, which is the greater than button. Great, we just remove it, and let's go back and remove the background. The rest we can just remove it using the magic eraser or the eraser itself. We can just remove it, and we got a really great background. We got a finger cut here, so we can just return it using the history brush, so everything will be covered for you. Great. Now let's go with the packet. The packet, it's very easy to just filling with a color, which is the foreground color. Great. It's really easy to be used. You can just increase or reduce its opacity. Every time you click, it will increase with 53% till you reach the 100. Great. Just undoing what we have made. Great. Make it 100 again. Let's go with some extra tools. The blur tool, the sharpen tool, and the smudge tool. So let's play. Let's add for now the boy, and let's go with the blur tool. It will make everything blurry, just like that. We got the mouth and the eyes will be blurred, completely different from the other half. Got it blurred. So if you want to focus on anything in your picture, you can just make it blurry to make the other part shows more. Great. Let's go with the sharpen. Using the sharpen, we will play with an eye and compare it with the other one. We got it more sharp. Make sure that protect the details, because if we remove protected details, we will got it really badly. Just undo it, protect the details and make it more sharp. Great. Let's undo that again. Now let's go with the smudge tool. The smudge tool, it just mixes all the pixels together. You can just use it in making, like water mixture or whatever you need. I'm just playing now with you. So let's remove that for now. Let's go with another tools, which are the dodge tool, the burn tool and the sponge tool. Let's play with the boy again. Now, using the dodge tool will make things more bright. Everything got really bright. Great. Let's undo. You got here the range, the highlight, which make everything highlighted, really highlight. Mid will make it like slightly. The shadows will play with the shadows and make the things more darker. So for the dodge we will make it highlight, but in the burn it will make it shadow, because it will make things more dark, like the shadows. Great. Sometimes when you make things darker, it will be more efficient. Great. Just undo. Now let's play with the sponge tool. The sponge tool will increase the intensity depending on saturation or desaturation. When you choose saturation, it will increase the intensity of the image. So we will just duplicate that layer by pressing Ctrl J or Command J for Mac. We'll duplicate our layer. Let's do it by saturation to increase the intensity. So now we increase the saturation of the color. Great. Let's remove that for now and make another duplication by pressing Ctrl J or Command J and go with the desaturation, and we will decrease the intensity of the color. For now let's decrease the intensity of the color, and just like that we decrease the saturation by desaturating the color and reduce its intensity. Great. Now let's play with the pen tool. The pen tool is a really effective tool in Photoshop. Its shortcut is P. You must remember it. It is very powerful tool. Great. The pen tool is making anchor points from point A and point B and just make the line between them. The line can be a straight line or just by pressing Ctrl Z to undo, or you can just hold and drag your cursor to make a curve. So it can be a straight line or a curve. Great. Just undo. There is 2 points in the pen tool, the shape and the path. The path and just the shape are the same. The only difference between them that the shape got a filling color but the path didn't have a filling color. Great. What about the pixels? It is not lightning here. Why? Because the pen tool is working on the vectors, not a raster or not a pixeled image. So what is the difference between raster or vector? So let's go and see what is the difference between them. We will go with any image, any shape here, and we will make it like that one, like the right sign. Great. Now we just check our shape as a shape. We got it as shape. Path, we just said before that shape and path is the same. The only difference between them that the shape got a filling color, and we get the pixels. So let's see the difference. We will go with the shape first, and we will transform it by just pressing Ctrl T or Command T, and we will just make zoom out by pressing Ctrl or Command minus. We will increase it and see if it will be affected. It is really good. It's not affected at all because vectors is based on mathematical equations. So let's reduce it again by pressing Ctrl T, Command T, and just make it really small, and it won't affect. So let's transform it again and make it really big and see if the its sharpness will be affected. It's really good. So let's remove that shape. Let's make a new layer and remove that shape and go with the same shape, but now we will choose pixels. Just make the same one, just like that. Just like that. Let's transform it and make it really big, and you will see the difference. First it seemed like it will be pixeled, but for the first time it will be sometimes it will be like can be used. So let's make it really small and you will see the complete difference now, because when you just make the pixels small, when you stretch it again it will be really mess. Let's transform it and make it really big, and let's see the bad view. It is really bad. It's really pixeled right now. That's the difference between raster and vectors. The vectors is based on mathematical equations, so it doesn't affect by increasing the size or reducing the size several times and infinite number of times. It won't be affected. But when using rasters or pixels, when reducing and increasing the size, the pixels will be really bad. So let's go and make a new layer and remove that one. Let's go back to our pen tool and start with the path. Just it will make points and connecting them together, and when you just go to the end it will make the like a circle to close your path. By pressing Ctrl D, Command D, you can make the selection. Great. By pressing Ctrl D, you can just remove it, so you can just make the selection, and when you close it by pressing Command return or Control Enter to make the selection, by pressing Control D, Command D to remove it. Great. Now, we use the pen tool to select objects from any port or any area in any image. So we can just make any object like circle elliptical by holding and just make it like that. Great. Let's use pen tool to just drag it. So we can just make points and make the point and drag to make the curve, just like that. Great. And for another one, we can just make it like that. To make that curve better, by holding Alt to make the converter tool and break the controller. Great. Let's make another point, just drag it. The last one will be like that, and go to the controller by holding Alt and just like that to make it that one, and just remove and press Control again to break that one. Great job. By pressing Control Enter or Command Return to make the selection. Great. Now let's make a new layer, remove that one. Now we can go and make another shape like the heart. We can just change its color. Just remove that one, go to color and choose red, and let's make the heart. Great. Let's go with the pen tool and just select it. We got two ways. I'll show you both just by pressing here and just dragging. Great. And just hold Alt and break the curve. Great. Make another one here. Great one. That's great. When you need to break it, just break the curve. Each controller controls the curve. That controller controls the previous curve. That controller controls the next curve. So let's go. Make another one. Great. Another one. We can break that curve by holding Alt. Just break it. And great. Now let's make just return by pressing Ctrl Z or Command C. One of the special ports that it just goes by anchor point by anchor point. So if you just need to remove one by one. Great. The second way, it's really fast and easier for beginners, just by clicking and dragging again. To avoid mixing of curves or the controllers, we can just break that curve by holding Alt and drag it to the point, and we can just make and control from another point only, just by dragging like that. Will be really easier for you till you master the pen tool. Great. Really great job. And really easy. So you must play with it a lot. Just by pressing and dragging, pressing and dragging. If you make a point in wrong place, you can just undo it by pressing Ctrl Z. Great. Just holding and dragging by pressing Ctrl, Alt or Option. Great. Now let's undo by pressing Ctrl Z, Command Z. Great. Now we got our path and our shape. Let's go with the shape. The shape, as we say before, it is a path but with a fill-in color. So once we made it, it will get the same shape but with a fill-in color. Great. We can just Ctrl Z, but in the shape we got another thing that we can make a stroke. Just from here, make a stroke and choose its color and just remove it by pressing Ctrl, Enter or Command Return. Make it just like that. Great. Just by pressing Ctrl Z, Command Z, you can either make a stroke and increase its size, and you can even remove the color and make it just like a stroke. You can even play with the stroke to make it dots, make it dashes, whatever you need. It's really effective by pressing Ctrl, Enter or Command Return. Make the selection. Really effective and really powerful tool. Now let's go back to the path and just playing with it. Now let's know some extra tricks about the pen tool. First one, make sure when you are selecting pen tool that the auto add and delete is checked, because when you use it you can just don't need to use any of those tools, because you are going to use their shortcuts. So let's start. Just by moving here or there on the line, you can see that there is a plus sign. You can add any anchor point anywhere, or just if you hold your mouse over any anchor point, you got the negative sign, you can remove any anchor point. Great. Now if you hold Alt or Option and send over any anchor point, you can just make it as a curve using the controllers, and even you can hold Alt again and break any curve of them. Great. Now you can hold Control or Command to also break curves, or even to move the whole object, make it curves just like that. Great. Let's undo those and go to the next tool, which is, let's make first a new project and remove that with the text. The text is very simple. You can just type whatever you need, and by pressing Enter it will just make it. By pressing Ctrl T or Command T to transform it and just make it bigger like you want. Great. Pressing Enter. Just by pressing again, you can just pressing Ctrl A to select it and choose whatever font you need. Make it regular, make it whatever, bold, anything you need. Great. You can even change the color. Everything is very easy. You can go and press double click and go to blending options, make a shadow, make a stroke. You can go and make a stroke like white stroke here, or you can change the color You can go and drop a shadow for it and change the angle for it. Yeah. You can play a lot with it. Make a color overlay, change the color itself. Play with the blending options. It's really cool. Let's remove. Make a new layer and remove that text. And let's go with the path selection tool and the direct selection tool. We already used them in the pen tool, but you didn't realize, but I'll show you again. In the patch selecting tool, you can go with it. Sorry, let's remove that again and try just from the beginning. The pen tool, just like that. In the path selecting tool, you can just move your object, and in the direct selection tool we just make it like we can move the curves, which we have already done using the control or command and the option or alt to manage curves and move them. Great. Now let's make a new layer, remove that one. Okay, great. Control Z, undo it. Great. Let's go now and go with shapes. Shapes, as you see before, we got three options in here: the shape, the path, and the pixels. The shapes are paths with fill-in color. The pixels, I don't recommend that you use it anymore. Great, you can just go here and choose whatever shapes you need. That's great. You can make a stroke for them, change its filling color, whatever you need. Great. Now we got the last two tools, which are the hand tool and zoom tool. Let's choose any image. That will be great. Okay, great. Let's go with the hand tool first. Let's start with the zoom tool. The zoom tool is really easy to be used. When you just click on it, or the shortcut is Z, you can see two main options here, plus and minus. When we use the plus, we just click on our left click and just go zoom in. If we just click on the negative sign, we just zoom out. Great. Just to make swapping between them by holding Alt or Option, swap between them, plus or just minus, as you like. Great. Now you can even right click and choose fit on screen, or you can just make it by the shortcut by pressing Ctrl or Command 0 to fit into screen, or by right click and go 100%, go to 100%, print size, zoom in or zoom out. Great. There is some tricks also. Just by holding on the left click, it will just zoom in, and if you just holding Alt or Option and just press, it will zoom out. Great. There's another one. By holding the left click and go to the right, it will zoom in, and pressing and holding and go to the left, it will zoom out, just like that. Clicking and going to the right will zoom in, and go to the left will zoom out, go to the right will zoom in, go to the left will zoom out. Great job. Pressing and going to the right will zoom in, pressing and going to the right will zoom in, pressing and going to the left will zoom out, just like that. Great. There is another one. if we are zooming here and we need to go to the right, we can just press H for the hand tool and just go like that, or we can do it in a tricky way, just by holding H and press on our left click. We got that rectangle here, just go whatever we need and just leave them and we will go there. Again, holding H and pressing on our left click, go whatever we need and just leave, we will go there. Or just moving by the hand, but the other way will be more faster and more effective. So, as a recap, we got our move tool here, its shortcut is V, our rectangle or marquee tools, its shortcut is M, our lasso tools, our object selection tools, cropping, all of them. So, as I said before, you must go for all of them using the shortcuts, but in the spot healing tools there is a lot of them. How can I go using the shortcuts? It's called J. Okay, great. We can go just like here and pressing J, or I need to swap between them. I only go to the spot healing tool. So what do I need? Just by pressing Shift and J, it will swap between them. You can just swap between them, pressing or holding Shift and pressing the shortcut. We will swap between the tools. Just like that, we can go with the eraser. It will be E. So we can just go here and press Shift and E and swap between the erasers. Great.